Hi, Kiwi. Hi, Kiwi. Wow, sleepy girl. Sleepy. Wow. Have a good nap. We got Kiwi with us again today. And this time, I did actually take notes of what I was gonna say because sometimes I feel really awkward when I stumble around in these videos and I don't really know what I'm saying next, or I don't have notes to refer to, because as I keep talking about, notes are really, really helpful for my memory. Look at this cutie pie. Anyways, so I actually did take notes today and I made a little bit of a plan. She keeps doing cute little things. I made a little bit of a plan of what I'm gonna tell you about. I figured it would be good to tell you about what I've been reading lately, especially some good and some bad. So I mentioned this in a short video that I posted the other day, especially as like a kind of memory tether, so that I would remember to say more about it. And I want to talk about that some more. So basically, in that little short video, I was just talking about Octavia E. Butler because I've been really wanting to read Octavia E. Butler this year. She's been really popular and like talked about this year because she published a book back in, I think, 99, maybe 98. And in that book, oh wow, you're so cute. In that book, she is she writes about wildfires in California happening at the beginning of the year 2025 after a president is elected with the slogan "Make America Great Again." So that felt like kind of fortune telling to a lot of people, and a lot of people this year were talking about that book and the other books that she's written. And she's like historically like a, you know, I mean, I don't know, historically, like she was publishing in the 90s still, so but like, you know, historically in terms of like since she's published her books, like she's been like a very renowned author for writing about race relations and race matters in a lot of her books, and especially writing about Afrofuturism and kind of like Afro sci-fi. She a lot of people like how she handles sorry, Kiwi is so distracting. A lot of people like how she handles discussions of race in her books, and so I think Parable of the Sower, I think that's the one, the title of the one that she wrote that has to do with those fires and the president with the slogan "Make America Great Again," which of course matches Trump's slogan, and the wildfires that happened in LA in January this year. So everyone's been, you know, kind of a buzz about Octavia E. Butler this year, which is totally understandable. And I've been keeping my eye out at the library and on the library website for Parable of the Sower, or really any of her other books, because I really wanted to read some of her writing. I've never read her books before. And I found a couple. I picked up one called The Fledgling, and I picked up another that I think is called New Dawn or something Dawn. And hi, Kiwi. I started reading The Fledgling first, and unfortunately, in the like end of the first chapter or the beginning of the second chapter, there's this really uncomfortable and concerning, like, basically there's like a physical encounter between somebody who is thought to be very much underage, like 10 or 11 years old, and somebody who is very much definitely not underage. And I stopped reading it there because I was so put off by that. I think that's so strange and unnecessary. Like, it wasn't like handled like, how do I say this? It wasn't handled in a way that was like respectful to it. It wasn't handled in a way that like honored like the true kind of nature of like violence of a scenario like that actually occurring. And so it just wasn't something that I could continue reading. And I was surprised. I looked it up and I did some like very brief, research. And a lot of people said that's like their least favorite book by Octavia E. Butler, that that a lot of people couldn't get past the weird, unnecessary romantic dynamic, and it's kind of, it reminds me of like, it seems like later the character gets confirmed to be actually older, but the person that she has the physical encounter with thinks that she's like 10 or 11 because she looks like she's like 10 or 11. And it really reminds me of like that like excuse that they that if you ever heard somebody say this about like anime girls who look like they're children or underage, but it's okay actually because they're thousands of years old, or they're 200 years old, or secretly she's 80 or something. Like, it's such a lame and disgusting excuse, like very ignorant and, oh my gosh, and damaging. It just felt like very much like that, and I just couldn't read that due to my personal principles on that kind of theme in content. And then I was really surprised because I thought, okay, I'll read her other book that I checked out by her, and since that was just the one that everyone says they like the least, and so I got out the other book that I had checked out by her, and it was, like I said, it's called like A New Dawn or something like that. And basically I didn't even start that book either because I read the summary inside the book jacket a lot more carefully, and the whole plot was based on this really weird non-consensual physical dynamic between what is it? What'd you see? She saw a bird outside the window. It's flying around. And if you read the plot, you'll kind of understand what I'm saying here. But basically, it's about like that being like a okay, Kiwi. it's about like that dynamic being necessary, and that someone basically has to non-consensually just like go with stuff with aliens. It's just really strange topic and theme, and the way that it's being handled, like especially just in the summary, is just so to me, I really want to say like almost irresponsible, like damaging, because it's handled so lightly and not with, again, with like true respect to the violence of a scenario like that. Just really weird. And so I didn't want to read those, so I just returned them to the library without reading them, which you know, sometimes I want to do, because yeah, some things I don't want to read, that's for sure. Then I also was trying to read this. Now this one, I should have known that this was just going to be bad, and I plenty of people could have told me like that I was going to have this experience, not just with this book, but because of the author and everything. So I tried to read this one, The Institute, by Stephen King. He sucks. He sucks as an author, as a person with little principles, or maybe seemingly none. I don't know. Really just, wow. Damaging content, damaging author. I really didn't like, again, you know, I could have predicted this probably, but I did not like this book, because it was just really lazy. Like, I kind of thought at the very least that aside from all of the rampant patriarchal misogyny, and honestly disgusting objectifying misogyny, and like really obvious toxic racism, like, I mean, all racism is toxic, but like this is just like so out there, like, so, I don't know. Anyway, I thought there might be at least some good like literary device usage or anything, but there's really not. It, like, this book especially, I tried to read The Shining a few years back, and I just like it didn't like fully catch my attention, and that really should have been my first clue. But it's just so, there's so many cliches that he like leans on, and they're so overused, and they're just, it's so lazy. There's just a bunch of boring tropes, like literally, like businesswoman with a flat chest and her coworker thinks she's a bitch. Not only are none of the characters well-rounded, but none of the women are even like characters, which again I should have expected. Anyways, another book that just I'm not finishing, I'm not interested in, I don't like it. I got pretty far into this one too, because I was trying to give it a chance. I think I got to page like 150 or something. Maybe it was just page like 100, I don't know, but I gave it a shot, and that was kind of stupid of me, because it sucked every step of the way. And this is the large print version, so I didn't get as far into it as you might have. That's why it looks so big. Probably if non-people me are seeing this and they're looking at the book, they're probably like, wow, that's bigger, but it's just large print. I have bad vision. Oh yeah, that's a hack to remember. Actually, I'm glad that I realized and mentioned that in one of these videos, because when I go to the library, a lot of times I forget, but the large print edition is so much easier for me to read because I do have really bad vision. My correction is so strong. Like my glasses are really thick. So the large print books are really, really helpful. Now let's talk about a book that I absolutely loved and adored, and I'm so, like, I had so much fun reading this book. I had so much fun thinking about this book after reading it. Like, I have so much fun rereading it. Like, this is a really good book, and I read the acknowledgments and they made me cry a little bit because it was just really really love this book. And I don't know if this is like a well-known or talked about book. I really have no clue. I picked it up off the shelf at the library. I think it was like propped up as one of the staff picks. So thank you very much to the librarian that recommended this. I love grabbing staff picks. That's another hack for you to remember, Teresa, is that staff picks are really fun. They even have the staff picks on the website, which is so fun because I pick stuff from the staff picks. I also picked this from the staff picks. So sometimes I pick stuff and it doesn't work out so much, and I don't like it. That's fine, but it's still worth a try, because more times than not, I've really enjoyed the books, or it's been like a book that I really liked and like would read, but maybe it's just not accessible for me. It's too wordy or too difficult, something like that. Anyway, this one I also got in large print, and what I liked about it was that it talks about themes of abuse and betrayal in romantic relationships and in friendships, and it was handled very carefully and very respectfully. It really gave gravity to the situations that the characters are dealing with here, and there was a proper amount of, hold on, let me look at my notes again. That the betrayal and the abuse in the book is not sensationalized. It's not romanticized. It's written about in a way that that displays that the grief and the ramifications, long-term, short-term, the changes in behavior. It really goes into the detail, the heaviness, and the reflections of looking back on an abused relationship and being in a situation of abuse. All of the characters were very well-rounded and fleshed out. They had very believable profiles in terms of principles and behavior, and I can't say that there were any tropes that I noticed, or cliches. Really, there might have been some word cliches used, but I don't really remember. The writing never felt cheap. It never felt like there were things happening for shock factor. I definitely felt shock factor in this, but I definitely did not feel overuse and abuse of the shock factor here. There was a lot of shocking turns and twists and things I didn't expect. There was a ton of surprises, and so it really kept me on my on the edge of my seat, on my toes, all of those things. It really kept me guessing, and I think I read it in 2 or 3 days because I was really, really excited about what was happening next, and I felt some dread sometimes about reading it, which I think can be a really exciting thing for an author to produce with their writing, is the reaction of you feeling dread about reading it and being nervous about what's coming next. And it helped me to process things that I've also gone through, or that I watched my friends go through, in a really healthy, controlled way, because again, it wasn't romanticized, it wasn't sensationalized, it wasn't written in a way that, you know, just triggers for the sake of shock, or for the sake of, you know, portraying nothing but the gritty reality. It had a sense of vindication, a sense of validation, affirmation, and it really was like very, very well written. The the plot and the pacing, like I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed this book, and I actually made the mistake of assuming, when I checked it out and when I was reading it, that the author is just a straight woman author. You know, from the name, I just assumed that's just a straight woman, you know, cisgender. And I was wrong. When I finished the book and read the acknowledgments, I was so pleasantly surprised, to hear so many details and experiences that I resonated deeply with and felt like they honored my reality. In the acknowledgments, there's a lot of detail. There's positive thanks, and you could say kind of negative thanks, like for people who harmed the author, and in those ways inspired actions of the book, but also a lot of positive things for people who helped them and helped them heal, and helped the author develop themselves as a person, through what happened and after what happened, and in general. And some of it's very simple, like the therapist who told me what happened to me was wrong. That's one of my favorites, because the first person who tells you that what happened to you was wrong, I don't know, it makes a really big impact on you. It helps you to adjust your mindset to the truth of that fact, that what happened to you was wrong, and it's simple. It shouldn't have happened, you know. So maybe I can read you some of the acknowledgments in the next video, but I wanted to keep this one short, and it's already 23 minutes, so I'm just gonna cut it off there and say, keep going to the library. You checked out like $700 worth of books or something like that. It says it on the like website, under your profile, and it's so awesome. So keep checking out books, and keep reading them, and ditch them when they're too hard or when you don't like them. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. And more Kiwi. Say bye, Kiwi.